Yeah, because we're live right now, and that's awesome. Yeah, good morning, Amber.
Good morning.
Good morning, Harriet. How are you?
I'm I'm good. I can't get my FaceTime HD camera. That's what I want. But I don't see myself. But that's okay.
It might be your FaceTime HD camera, huh? It's not working on your computer?
I guess not.
Hmm.
Because I see Amber, I see you, custom live streaming. I'm not muted. There's Spirit. For my background.
Here he comes.
Share screen.
Well, if you wanna try to if you wanna leave and come back, I'll let you back in. So it's no big deal.
Okay.
Hey,
Okay.
Spirit, good morning.
Good morning. How are
Spirit.
you? Hey, what's up, guys?
Well, we were just talking about it was Thanksgiving in America this last week, and Amber and I were talking about our Thanksgiving experience, and it was nice. It was really nice to meet up with loved ones and stuff. So, how about you? Did you have a nice Thanksgiving?
Oh, me?
Yeah, Spirit.
Oh, yeah, I had a great Thanksgiving. Yeah. It was really nice. I got a chance to spend with my wife and my kids, and just do it. Walking around the house in my pajamas was that was just the best. The kids are out of school, and I was just like, oh God, this is wonderful. So,
That's
and then my
awesome.
wife cooked an amazing Thanksgiving dinner. I was like, oh my God, I'm so thankful that I married you, ma'am.
That's one of the reasons I had to do Friendsgiving the day after Thanksgiving. As much as I appreciated the fact that my best friend cooked a gorgeous, tasty Thanksgiving spread, I really love my cooking.
I know that's right, Amber.
I've spent years cultivating my Thanksgiving recipes, and I was like, I need my stuffing. I need my turkey. Yeah,
Amen.
I need my sweet potatoes because I don't like candied sweet potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
I need my sweet potato recipe. So we did it all again the next day and invited everybody over, and it was a great time.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fun.
But it's good. No, it was we were just talking about this gathering with others and stuff. I was really fortunate, and a friend invited me over, so I got to do Thanksgiving with friends. And but I was telling Amber, God, like right before it was time to go, I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go out.
Yeah, the
And
anxiety gets real.
right. And so I think that was an interesting. It was just it's such a typical experience for me, but at the same time, Amber, you related, and you were talking about that in terms of when you're getting ready to do a tattoo.
Yes.
Yeah, that was I thought that was so fascinating. Would you share that again? That was
Yeah, right before I'm about to do a tattoo, like the severity of the situation with me. I've got one chance to do this. I'm marking someone permanently. And, the finality of it hits me and it gives me anxiety. But the second that machine gets turned on, as soon as I hit the button and I feel the buzz in my hand, the anxiety goes away and it becomes excitement.
Mm.
It's just the excitement that I get to do this awesome thing.
Yeah.
That this is my job. This is what I get to do. And I absolutely love it. The only thing better than tattooing is getting tattoos.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
have a similar experience too, like just the whole anxiety, like right before I do the tattoo. I'm just like, oh my, I mean, it is such serious business what we're doing. I mean,
Mhm.
it's mind-boggling how serious it is. And the client's so excited and they're just like, oh my God, it's gonna be great. And to you, it's just Tuesday, you know, to quote Yogi Barrett, you know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, yeah. And then just like you, like it's like right when I put my apron on, that's when everything just goes and
Uh-huh.
I just start having, just like laser focus. I'm just like, this is fine. This is what I do. It's my job. You know what I'm saying? This is just like
Mhm.
you. It just shuts off at a certain point.
I got my tunes on. I'm in that creative flow. I've got that flow state going, and the only thing that exists is the music, my hand, and the tattoo.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, I think I just find this so fascinating, and it's like again, maybe it's that transformation. You were talking about, Amber. It's like there's this this anxious state that gets sort of you know transformed, or the energy gets sort of directed into excitement, or
Yeah,
focus. Even, I mean, maybe like it takes energy to be focused, to be really
it does.
still, and to be sort of directed. It takes a lot of effort and energy. So I guess it's sort of like I just it's somewhat mysterious, I think, and kind of a little bit magical
Yeah.
um, to sort of witness that, or to take part in it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Scientifically, anxiety and excitement create the same chemical in the brain.
mhm. Wow.
It's
Wow.
just
Oh,
about a choice on how you direct the energy that creates. Are you
that's
going to let it have a
Word.
fight or
yeah.
flight reaction, or are you going to let it have the excitement reaction?
Mm.
Makes a
That's
lot of
interesting.
sense. But who's directing this? You know what I mean? Who
Yeah.
is the one? Who is the one who decides this? And uh, and so I think that's like it's so fascinating and makes so much sense. But then we still get back to this question of how do we um, you know uh, I, how does it work? How does it work?
Right.
There is a fundamental like mystery there, as far as like we deal with it every day, but we make the choices, and it seemingly
Mhm.
uh, there's some entity that is me that makes this choice, and I do these things. But again, it's sort of like like who is the switching demon that makes that makes it go one way or the other. I think that's so fascinating. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm gonna read the announcements and stuff. So if you all want to follow along, get warmed up, um, you know, I'm just gonna say again, good morning, gang, and welcome to Guy Atchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live stream real world events to share, inspire, and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every single day, and with your help, we've become a quality network of amazing live, on demand art shows that have been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo on all the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our YouTube channel, Facebook page, and at Roku, reinventingthetattoo.com/Roku. Um, you can also catch our podcast, and we're available on all the major podcast directories, including Apple and Spotify. But no matter where you're watching, live or on demand, the latest and greatest can always be found at reinventingthetattoo.com. And so that's my cue. Share the screen, right? Here we are, reinventingthetattoo.com. Um, So we have a number of weekly staple shows, and we encourage people to tune in. On Sundays at 1 p.m., we have the Sunday Skill Building Drawing Group with Jason Leeser. That's followed on Mondays at 9 a.m. with Drawing for Tattooers. That's this show. Welcome. Um, Hosted by me, James Wisdom. At 11 a.m. on Mondays, we have the Tattoo Weekly, hosted by Lauren Gregory, Jake Meeks, and Gabe Ripley. That's followed at 5 p.m. on Mondays by Let's Talk About Feelings with Robbie Ripple. At 9 p.m. on Mondays, we have the subscribers exclusive drawing groups led by Guy Etchison and Sandy McAndrew. On Tuesdays at 10 a.m., we have the Tuesday Feels drawing group hosted by Ricardo Sturdivant. That's followed on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. with the Tattoo Now show. Thursdays at 6 p.m., the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast hosted by Fawn Baker. So if you're interested in checking out any of those shows, a lot of times there are links here at reinventingthetattoo.com. And then, of course, here's some of those. And then, of course, we have a schedule right here. So we'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsors. Tattoo Now, tattoonow.com is technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for artists of all levels. They have upgrades, as well as CRM software and professional development tools. That's tattoonow.com. And of course, we would like to thank, once again, Guy Atchison for being the inspiration behind this community. And you can learn more about Guy Atchison at guyatchison.com, where you can find copies of the Biomech Encyclopedia, original oil paintings, prints, as well as custom coil machines, DVDs, and other tattoo educational products. So thank you again to Guy Atchison, and you can learn more about Guy at guyatchison.com, or of course here at reinventingthetattoo.com. A quick shout out to some of our affiliates, Amy Nichols of the Apprenticeship Diaries, and Jake Meeks at the Fireside Tattoo Network. So if you have any questions, you can email management at reinventingthetattoo.com. If you're enjoying our show, make sure to hit the like and be sure to subscribe. That helps the algorithm, as you know. And then, please leave your constructive feedback in the comments. And I think that's going to do it. So, yeah, gang, let's we get on with the show. Thank you so much for your patience there. It's always we're just talking about getting anxious and then getting on with the deal, right? Like trying to read that script and trying to keep the momentum going. It's there's an anxiety to it, I won't lie. But again, it's I've, like with anything, I think there's always this there's experience and you have it, and then there's something about that like sort of strengthens you or something. There's something that something about that you can rely on, I guess. There's some memory of it, there's some sort of thing. And I think our drawing is this way, right? The more that we end up experiencing different types of drawing, but of course within I think there needs to be parameters too. Like I think this helps, right? The drawing for imagination and being experimental is super crucial, but it can't be the only thing you ever do, right? There has to be this community. There has to be this sort of I guess a feedback loop, if you like, where you're putting it out there, you're getting something back, you're also you're also looking at others, right? You're looking at references, you're looking at the work of others, you're copying, but you're also, trying to like find your own aesthetic and find your hand, right? What is it that your hand does that nobody else's does? Because, you know, uh, we are all individuals, and we all make marks a certain way. We all like we'll do things our own way. But I think that's you you become that, right? You can't just um, it doesn't just happen, right? It's a process. I think that's what I think. What do you all think?
I think you're right on the money with that.
I mean, I guess, I'm just saying, I'm, you're the art teacher. So if that's what you say, then that's what it is.
I think the truth is like that, you know, um, this old philosopher once said, right? Like Socrates, right? He said, the only thing I know is that I don't
Is that
know.
I know
No.
nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate, like, like on the horizon of your existence, right? You're ultimately gonna fail, right? We only know that we die, I guess, but you don't know the rest of the story between, if your life was a book, this metaphor, it's sort of tired, but if your life is a book, you start page one, and the end is, the end is you die, but you don't know the rest of it. And I think that's, there's so this is a banal platitude. This is something that's almost it's almost like stupid to say, but it's true. There is a certain kind of uh, action that's required in order to put in to fill in the gap, right? The gap is your life, right? Between the event, your birth, your conception, whatever, to the moment that you are, no longer, like no longer animate, become inanimate, like, just material, um, not no
And
longer embodied.
And I feel as though doing these exercises is that I'm uncovering things, I'm discovering things. I'm not necessarily creating a style. My style is evolving. Like it's these are the necessary ingredients that I have to put, on my style in order to make it grow. And not, not so much that it's just being invented, you know what I mean? It's like, this is my origin story, you know what I mean? Like one day I'll look back on these anatomical drawings and be like, wow, look at that, look at how far I've come, and you know what I mean? And I'll probably forget that I've drawn these things, and you know what I mean? Hopefully, you know what I'm saying? I'll just be at such a point where I'm just like, well, you know what I mean? Just really amazed at the primitive work that I used to do, but it was so necessary and was so important. And I guess like for me, I was always kind of looking for the fundamentals, the basics, like what can I do to get better? What can I do to get better? And I finally realized, I was like, since everybody is saying the same thing, you got to do line, shape, form, then I was like, well, let me go ahead and work on these basics then. Let me just sit my ass down and stop trying to take the quick route, and just do the work, and learn from the greats.
I think that's I feel very similar. I agree with you, and that's what I'm trying to do as well. Is just uh, always have a mentor. You know what I mean? Even if you are a mentor, you have one, right? There's somebody
Mhm.
that's someone that you're. I get, that was something I was talking about recently. Was how do you become a good mentor? You have to have one. I think you always have to have these
Mm.
models that they're always bestowing on you, and it's and then finally you don't have one. You know you're done. You're dead. But that's the thing, is like you always keep somebody. It doesn't matter, sometimes we have mentors who are, who are much older. Sometimes we have mentors who are younger, but there's an experiential, difference in particular areas. And that's where, I think we can receive some guidance and we can receive some insights. Again, like you said, uncovering, revealing to you like who it is that you are. It's the process, and it's probably as much a process for yourself as it is, like for the mentor, right? It's like, the mentor is like learning how to be a mentor, and they're also, forever a student, I guess. That's something.
Yeah.
A guy, I heard Guy Aitchison say that you're always a student. And I mean, it's like I've heard other really wise people say that too, but I think it's so it's it's just so true. It's just difficult. It's just
It's
always
difficult.
it is
Because you don't
difficult.
know what to do. Like, that was my problem. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if you can relate to this, Amber, but before I got into this class, I was like, what do you do? You know what I mean? I know you had line, shape, and form and all those things, but it was like, where do I start? Where do I begin? You know what I mean? And so, like, at least this is just it. It has a person that
Yes,
himself is a really great artist, and he says, do this thing, do this, even if it's not in
yes.
order necessarily. It's still like, okay, I'll do this. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
hmm
Yeah. Mhm.
I've missed
I
having an art teacher. I have so missed having an art teacher.
Cheers. I am so grateful for you all. I just want to say that. I also like, I guess I think of us as I think of this as a little, a small collective. But again, I miss having students, having somebody that I can just talk about this stuff with, because I spent a long time in art classes, and
hmm
that's essentially what I'm trying to just give you, was all the stuff the lectures that I listened to and the books that I read and stuff, and you know, um, but
And we will
again, it's sort of,
gladly receive it.
for sure.
Oh
No,
yeah, totally.
I am.
It's not going to cost $180,000.
Oh my God, yeah,
Yes,
Amen.
it is. Yeah, I think that's what makes me feel subversive, right? That's my subversive gesture to capital, is that, I give it.
yes,
I'll give it to you. And I think that, and then so you must give it next. You know what I mean? That would be the next part. Is that like the dissemination of the information, right? It got,
I've been
it
giving it to
comes.
my Girl Scouts
Oh, that's outstanding.
in different badges and workshops and things like that.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Yeah. No,
That's cool.
it is. This is so cool. I really do. It really is. It's something that's it's very fulfilling and enriching. Um,
For us too,
well,
because I'm of the mind that you need to be a lifelong learner. You're going to learn something
Mhm.
from everybody, whether it's something to do or something not to do. But everybody has a lesson to teach you. And
That's right.
this is working so cool for me. I can't wait to show you what I did this week.
oh, that's
Me
great.
too.
Oh, well, I want to check it out, but we have a new guest. Oh, let's see.
No,
Hey,
Uh,
that was me.
oh, it was you. Okay, got it.
I'm actually putting
Um,
this on my Facebook. So
yeah, no, go right ahead. I think that's great. Well, what we can do is, I, I was, I'll, I'll fess up. I did not do my exercises like I should have. I feel terrible. I did a lot of drawing. I did do that,
yeah,
cool.
but here,
I'm right there with you. I did a lot of drawing. I completed a painting,
true.
but I did not do my
Yay.
exercises.
Show us your
Yeah,
snakes. Show us what you worked on that tattoo on for
my
Friday.
my snakes. Yeah, no, I did some snakes. Here, let me see if I can. I will. Oh, sorry. I'm like, too many windows. Let's see here. Ah, I'll show, here, let me show I have a drawing of it. But here's let's see if I can share this tattoo.
You said this was a cover up? Yeah.
Yeah, so this was a tattoo I
Ooh.
did this week. And so there's a little cover up in there. Um,
Oh,
so yeah,
nice.
we
Mm.
did these snakes, sort of mirrored at each other, and work in progress, right? Just did the outlines.
I love the way they
But
flow over the collarbone.
thank you. Yeah, there was a balance we needed to strike, right? Because nobody is perfectly symmetrical.
No.
Right. So this
Right.
was something that we sort of dealt with, was like, all right, you're, one side sort of a little lower than the other, but like, as we sort of we put them on, and she stood up as level as she could. We were able to get, like, there was a lot of alignment, right? So all these areas aligned, so it looks it looks nice and level on her figure, as she when she's standing. But there is a little bit of particularity about, like, where it how it fits her. It was tough. I mean, it's like it is a tough spot. There's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But she did it, very brave, and, like, soldiered through it. So yeah, no. I think that the part that was challenging was designing all the scales, and how they would sort of flow over this, like, the cylindrical body of the snake.
Yeah.
And it was, and I looked at a lot of references. I looked at some tattoo references. I looked at um some other references as well, that, like, real snakes. It is kind of an amalgam of different images, but um uh I think at the end of the day, it's what the customer wanted, but we also we tried to, you know give her a unique sort of custom tattoo. So that was, it was fun. I worked on the drawing and design, and probably as much as I could. You know what I mean? But then there was a due date, right? This is something that's important, I think, for artists. You professional artists, like, you have a due date, and that's
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
it's due when it's due. It looks like what it looks like. You know what I mean? It's perfection unattainable, but you really give it everything you got, and that's, hopefully that's, uh, you know, you're you're doing the right thing. I hope. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, yeah, it was fun. It was fun to do, and it was, it was challenging, and I tried to. It was challenging for me, challenging for the client, but in the end, they're transformed. Their bodies transformed, and I think that was, it was really kind of a, amazing part to witness and to be a part of. You know what I mean? Like, and that's that that's that special thing about being a tattooer. You get to do that, get to see that in
Yeah.
people. But
That's
yeah,
cool,
that's
man.
what I worked on this week. That one, I mean, that and some other stuff. I guess I designed some little cartoon characters for a group of friends, and it was like, and one of them, was, I can share one more time here. So, let me share this. Um, right. So I designed this little, like, otter, like a,
That's awesome.
So cute. His little
yeah,
holsters.
right. Yeah. It's like a old West otter. And he has, he has two other friends, and, one is like an octopus, and the other one's a shrimp, but they battle the forces of evil or something. But I was thinking about our life drawing, you know, uh, particularly our sort of gesture sketches and our, you know, our life drawing activities we've been doing. So as I was sort of designing the, you know, the figure of this otter, I had, you know, some otter references, but then I, you know, I started to look through them and see the blocks. You know what I mean? And see the, you know, try to get that sense of you know, there's a little bit of perspective, but there's also, you know, there's an anatomical requirements too. And
To make
so
it
it was,
not only like an otter, but like a little bit human otter.
I think so, anthropomorphized for sure, for sure. But that was the, you know, so putting it into practice, right? You know, taking what we're using and putting it into like a practical application, something that's like helpful for myself. You know, and this was this is really what I've always wanted to do. You know what I mean? I was like, you know, I always want to draw cartoon characters. You know what I mean? And then like, so to get the opportunity to get to do that, and then also like you know, kick-ass snakes and dragons and stuff. I love drawing that shit. And so,
That's cool.
anyway, that's what I was working on. I've neglected my exercises, so you know, I'm terrible. But let me see. I want to see what everybody else is up to as well. And we do have stuff to do today, also. So I'm excited to talk about our, you know, because we're gonna do not figures today. We're gonna talk
Sweet.
about some other stuff. Yeah. So
Not
because I think that's what you're talking about today, Spirit, was like, you know, what are some of the other things? What are some of the things? And it's like, you know, the figure is so important, but then there's a whole other, you know, system of things that'll help. But anyway, let's look at what you all got into this week. I'd love to see it.
I went away from the figures too, because as you know, we're looking at moving, and I've been looking at homes. And this is a picture that I took off the internet of the back of the house. And I just love this view off the back
Nice.
That's a really
all
nice
the
view.
flowers and stuff. And it's like, I would lay awake at night thinking, could I draw that? Could I? And it's not great. And I got lost in it because there's so much with all the rails and the wooden ceiling and the flowers and stuff. But this is what mine turned out.
Beautiful.
Oh wow, that
I
is
love it.
beautiful.
A little lost
The
in
perspective is right and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I would love to wake up every autumn morning and look out there and see that.
It's
Yeah.
really impressionistic.
I didn't know how quite
Yeah.
to fill in all the colors in the back. They're all kind of scribbly, but that'll come. I can always erase it and redo it.
No,
That looks
I
fantastic.
don't. Yeah, don't
That's
touch that
great
one.
the way it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't even touch it.
Let's do
Yeah, I would
another
just leave
one.
it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. And I'm like, I think it's so interesting. You get inspired by something and you want to draw a picture of it, right? I think it's how we love stuff. You know what I mean? You're an artist.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you love
Yeah.
something? It's like, I draw it, you know, I'm kind of elevated to this,
Do you know how many people I've drawn pictures of and given them to them? Like I just
They
took
love
a
it.
picture of them that I loved. It was just a great
Mhm.
picture, and I either did it in, you know, pastel or pencil, or but you know, here's a picture of you. I love you.
That is a great way to love on somebody. I agree. Because it's almost like you're absorbing them into you when you draw them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think that's interesting. Yeah, you're kind of, yeah, there's a consumption, right? You're
Mhm.
visually, you're
Yeah.
kind of, you're and then you're also, and then sort of creative reproduction, you know, creative reproduction of whatever it is that you're taking in. So, and it's an extension of you in some way, right? There's some part of you in the thing that you
Yes.
made.
It's a give and take because you're taking them in, but you're leaving yourself on the canvas.
What? Preach, Amber. When is church in session? I would love
It is so profound, right?
Can I get a witness?
Well, yeah, when it comes to landscapes and flowers, or you know, people, even you take what
Mhm.
God has made and you've gotten something from it and you're trying to give it back.
And the thing is, Heather, I mean, Harriet, a lot of the famous painters, like that was their inspiration. A lot of the famous painters were really, really devout, you know, God. They just really loved God, and they really wanted to. I mean, they even said that they were trying to capture God's beauty and put it on canvas. And it was one of the closest things they could do to have the experience of being with their creator.
Right. You can take a picture, but that's not the same as actually drawing it with your hands or sculpting it, or that's very different than just flip it.
Yeah, definitely.
Fascinating. More.
I'll go next.
Okay.
All right, hold on. So I did the exercise.
Who understood the assignment?
All right, let's see. There we go. All right, so I did arms.
Wow.
Oh, let me put this over here. All right, that one.
Whew. That's so good. Oh gosh.
I love the red you use for this too. I think, by the way, I think that's actually, it's so pleasing to just as an approach. So awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So God, you did tons and tons. I guess I just I want to ask, like, did something click for you? Of course, like drawing wise, but also, what did you think about the sort of the way that the radius and the ulna articulate? And I think in the first ones, it really shows that, very
You talking about this
clearly.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the lower and
So
the forearm.
yeah, so this is, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I had an aha moment when, so how this is how your arm is when your palm is up, how this bone turns over that one when you turn your hand over.
Yes.
And that this is what it, what it looks like when you're, I guess, about to high five somebody, or when you're about to catch a baseball or something like that. So that clicked for me. And seeing that, it was just such that, like, oh, that's what happens. And then I also kind of understood what you were talking about when you were talking about wedges and mortises.
Good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, but just that these bones are like, some of them are just like stuck to other ones, and then some of them are just wedged there, and some of them are like bricks. So I definitely, it's really amazing just to kind of see how the movement changes the structure, of it. But it's liquid. It's just, easy stuff here, you know what I mean? But here, I mean, it's like, this is intelligent design here. You know what I'm saying? Like, this design here, it makes sense that it would do this, and then seeing the muscles. There was another one where you could see the individual muscles that control the fingers. I don't really remember which one it was, but it's this one. And it's interesting because I had a spinal injury, and right here, where you can see how the muscles control each individual finger here. And I didn't know that these muscles were up here in the forearm. I thought the muscles were like here in the palm, but like, that got me to.
Oh, we lost you.
Uh-oh.
There, we got you back, but can't hear you. You're muted.
You're muted.
Okay.
So I was like, if I'm moving these fingers, is it the finger that's doing the moving, or is it the muscle that is doing the pulling of the finger? So like, where does the motion start? And so I haven't figured that part out yet. But it just reminded me that I had a spinal injury a few years back, and I couldn't lift this finger at all. Like as much as I was like, please index finger move, it just wouldn't move. And so I was guessing the movement starts, I guess, in the finger, but I don't know. But it's just interesting when you draw these things and you can see it for yourself. What makes these things work.
Outstanding, like research and then and report on the arm. Just and inspiring too. It's like, God, you worked so hard on it, but I can tell that it's benefiting you in profound ways. And you also enjoy it. I mean, I think that's, there's a sort of there's an intense enjoyment that's like, it's just clearly visible. It's felt. And I think it's so interesting to sort of, that gets you to these questions, right? Like, so where does the movement begin? And like you were talking about your spine, it's like, well, the signal is coming from the spine too. You know what I mean? That's telling the arm to do something. But there was interesting research that, it's like, before you're cognizant, I suppose, like, just to sort of borrow this word, like, before you are aware that you're gonna, reach out and grab, like an object. I grab my coffee cup. Before I knew I was doing it, the signal had already been sent.
Right,
The signal,
right.
like the chain reaction, like, milliseconds had begun before I made this choice of, I'm going to do this. And so again, it's kind of like, it's interesting. It's like, where does everything begin? And it's almost like, you know, uh, some people use this as an argument for predetermination, and, it's sort of like that, you know, uh, maybe a lack of free will,
Mhm,
or that
right, right.
or the freedom of your will is located in another place. That like, the things that, the only free choices that we make are somehow the things that feel like we couldn't do otherwise.
Mm.
Like being in love or something like that. That's the only. But all the mundane sort of, like, I make this choice. I want this. I want this cake. I want this coffee. I want whatever. There's no, these are all sort of determined for us, or they sort of like are happening in sort of strange ways. I don't know, but I think it's so fun to think about it. And then of course, like, if we get there from an image, from a drawing, you know what I mean, to kind of get to this sort of really mysterious and, profound notion, because we saw a drawing and we started talking about it. I think that's like, I think that's really amazing. So, but I loved your drawings, Spirit. I thought they're
That's
fabulous.
great.
Yeah. And also, so just to sort of, like, put an emphasis on what you were talking about, like, so, your bone, so you have an ulna, you have your ulna bone, which is, this one, right? So along your pinky side, and then it's connected to this is your elbow, is all this bone, and it's much thinner here at this head, right? So there's like a little nub, this bone right here. And so again, so, as you when you hold it out, right, everything is, when you hold it out like this, right, that your arm is really straight. And then of course, as when you turn it over, it, like, the radius, like, folds over. So it's really thick. The ulnar bone, where your elbow olecranon process is really thick here. And then the radius bone is very thin, very small here, but thick down by the wrist. So just to add
Mm.
a little bit of language to it, and this is something my anatomy teacher taught me that I thought was really helpful. So when your palms are up, holding palms up, right? This is called supination, right? Like she said, like, it's like you're holding a bowl of soup. You can remember it that way, right? So supination. So your arms are out like this, supination, and then pronation is when you fold them back over. Supination, and then pronation. And that was what your drawing was showing the difference between supine, position of the arm and then pronated. So you're
Hmm.
holding the supination, and then pronation.
Oh wow. Cool.
So yeah,
Interesting.
it's so, but very great work, and also like I just keep it up. I think it's not going to do
I
anything
will.
but make you just so much stronger. So um, anyway, awesome, awesome.
Thank you.
Amber, let's check you out.
I did stuff, but I did not do the assignment.
No
I know
worries.
I showed you guys last time the one I was working on. I finished that.
Ooh.
That is a
Very
concept
cool.
for a thigh piece or a back piece if I embellish it more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I designed this concept for a hip piece.
Ooh. That is
Nice.
nice.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
If I do it as a hip piece, I want to bring it up further with the vines and give it and down to kind of complement the curve. But this
Mm-hmm.
would be the hip piece itself.
Nice. Well, it's a painting. I really like the yellow background, and then the violet, you know, moon. You know what I mean? So together,
Uh,
those complementary colors, I think they're very um, they provide a really beautiful contrast for each
yeah, and
other.
they made the green
Yeah.
pop.
Yes, yes, I think so too. It really kind of it helps to accentuate the green. I know, violet or purple and green are, they're very they get along really well.
Yeah,
They're
it's one of
excellent,
my favorite
excellent
color
partners.
combinations.
Hmm. It's like the Joker from Batman,
Yes,
like the
or
classic Batman.
Maleficent.
Purple and green.
The
So,
Joker, Maleficent, they all have the same color combination.
hmm,
Hmm.
Maybe I was a villain in my last life.
maybe. Well, yeah, that's very cool. And so I'm glad to see everybody's working, everybody's doing, you're doing the drawings that I think are, they're important to you, right? What you're interested in. Um, I think, and I've heard this from other places, like, just sort of you have to force yourself to do something, but I mean, but just doing something and you don't understand it, and it's like there can be uh there can be a detrimental effect, you know what I mean, at times, like,
Yeah,
just going through and the motions forever and ever, you know what I mean, and never giving yourself the room to do the things you're interested in too. I think, so there's it's important, right? It's important to
I
strike a
also
balance.
got all my holiday cards done before the end of November, which was my
That
goal because usually I have them done by now. And with the 3 kids and everything, I'm like, if I can get them done by the end of November so I can get them sent out in the beginning of December, I'll be good enough. Good enough.
it's a warning to us all, right? Get your stuff together, because it's coming, right? The end of the year. Can't wait. Yeah, can't wait for the new year. I think it'll be a good one. So,
I agree.
um, well, so I think,
Where's my
well, thank you everybody. Seriously, thank you so much for sharing your drawings. And it's always exciting to see what you all are up to. And so I wanted to, just sort of quickly show a little bit of like material, and then there's some exercises, something that I think will be really fun for us. So let me see here. I think I can share this. Okie dokie. All right. So, all right. So, this is 2 pages from a book, Ernest Norling's Perspective Made Easy. This is a book I recommend. It's a book I definitely used to teach from. So it is sort of rudimentary perspective drawing. And I think that this is sort of a big part of the, something that couples up with, with learning how to draw the figure anatomy, right? And then also learning about value, and then by
What's
extension,
his
you learn
name?
about color. Ernest Norling. So,
Ernest Norlings.
yeah, Norling. Perspective made easy.
Thank you.
So this is a great place to start. I mean, there's all sorts of perspective, like, introductory perspective books. This one I found, uh, I've found it to be very helpful, and very sort of approachable. And then after this, if you're still interested in it, there's so much more to learn, right? There's so much more. Like a lot of times people want to jump to the advanced stuff, and make it
Yeah. Right.
so advanced.
Mm.
There's things that can be missed or lost before you really get into it. Um, anyway, this is so these forms, in in drawing parlance, they're referred to as the Platonic solids, or Platonic forms, named after Plato, the philosopher. He had this idea that there are these eternal forms that exist, and that, like, that the things, that the appearances that we see, are representations of these forms. you know so that's the philosophical, like, level of what we're talking about. But really, what I think, what the practical application would be, is that oftentimes we see these sorts of forms, uh, throughout life, right? So, whether it's your phone or something like that, or you can see that as like a prism, right? So there's cubes, like an ice cube or any sort of box or something like that, and then sort of rectilinear prism is sort of, it's a boxy cube, elongated, or cylinder, right? You see cylinders all the time, right? Cones, the sphere. We don't ever, they're perfection unattainable, right? We said that earlier. So, we're never probably going to find something that's totally spherical, totally, cylindrical, a perfect cube. They don't really exist, but but we've got this notion. So anyway, each one of these objects, in this particular case, they're going to take up a particular, a certain amount of volume. They're going to take up some space. So what this illustration is sort of showing us is that these objects are too close together in this composition. They're placed too close together, and so we see there's there's a sort of a there's a it might be hard to diagnose this, like, right away, but on a subconscious level, there's an awareness you would have that, like, these objects are so close together that they would actually be, like, they're encroaching on each other's space. That's what this illustration down here is showing us, right? That, like, this block is too close to this cylinder, and it's like it's inside of it, right? And
Yeah.
same with the other objects. So he calls it an incorrect drawing. I would just say that it's what's happening. You know what I mean? That's what's occurring visually, spatially, that these objects are so close that they're touching one another. So you can use this, I think, as use it to your advantage. You know what I mean? If it's what you want, you can have things sort of intersecting, if that's what you're going for. But, so the point is to give things the amount of space that they would need to, right, to avoid overcrowding. And so this gets back to this idea of, there's a sense of depth that we want to create. Well, this sort of, this linear perspective that we're talking about, again, it was It is it's a very old concept. Um, it's not exactly how we see. So I don't want to give this notion or you know or the impression that it's like that this is the only way to go. But I think it's you know we're learning this, right? This is something that you can learn and you can you know you can incorporate it into some of your drawings, and you may find it helpful in being able to draw objects that have a convincing quality to them. If you want to convey your message or you want to get your point across, I guess you can use some of these ideas and they may very well uh, lend a bit of um, uh, just a bit more sort of like clarity, if you like, right? You can make things more clear. So now, like, you know, so if you're just drawing these, if you're just thinking about these objects as flat two-dimensionally, right? I think it's very easy to sort of come up with this happening. And this could get more and more extreme, right? So as this, you know, for this book, it's not so extreme. It's very sort of subtle. But if you start thinking about these objects as three-dimensional and having a bit of, you know, height, width, and depth, you can you can then start to place them in an ordered space. This helps us, you know, when we're going to draw a figure. And then again, like if we're going to draw like the landscape or something like that as well, we can start to think about the spatial organization of things. Um, so I just wanted to share this. This is can be a very helpful book, and it's a course into itself, right? So if you know were to go through this book and you know do the exercises that are in it, you will learn a lot about you know about linear perspective. And so I think it can be really useful. So stop sharing that.
Funny that my mind, when I look at that, it's like, it doesn't have to all be going in together. It's just one is way back and the others are in front.
Mhm.
My mind makes it to make sense to me, even
Yeah,
if that's
no, hmm
correct, I
yeah,
guess.
I think that's totally valid. It's so again, it can be if you were to have it in a you know maybe more extreme than that in certain respect, it might be sort of frustrating to you, right? Like when it gets to the point where it interrupts your connection to it, um, and you're not sure why, right? I think that's really what they're trying to get at with that is that you know you if you you know if you really want to have a you know if you really want to respect the amount of space that something you know you're representing has in your you know in your illusion of space, you can start to place them in certain ways. But again, I mean, we learn from you know from the history of art that like people contest this notion of linear perspective all the time. Just I think there's a um, knowing about it can be very powerful for you. So that way you know that's like that old saying like you know you learn the rules so you can break them that old bullshit. It's still kind of like well this is a you know this was a rule, and so are you going to adhere to it or are you going to sort of bend it or are you going to break it? That can be really cool. You know what I mean? And then that is content. Make sense? Right? It's a part of the content. Like I am, you know, being subversive to these notions about linear perspective. Cool. You know what I mean? There's nothing that says you can't do that. But again, you having an understanding of how that system can work, I think can be really can be useful. So so there's there's that there was that example. And and so right. I wanted to say, you know, this is something that we would in um, always draw in drawing class, right? I just always did, and it was and so there's a challenge to it, I think, but it's not everybody's favorite thing, but I think it really is. Uh, yeah, cool. Can everybody see?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the whole sort of idea. What I was showing before is like being able to create space, like, and this is like a 3D model rather than an image of it. So if it looks a little, 3D, that's the reason. Um, and then there's right, if I don't know if I can zoom in on it. Right here, this bugs me. Like this is a tangent, right? The tangent of the edge of this thing, and then that little, that
Aw.
plane right there. Um, uh, but again, I think that. Why would that sort of be? Why would that bother anybody? It draws a lot of attention. You know what I mean? It's like very powerful, like visually, like oh, right, we go right visually, you go right to it. Maybe the same right there. It's a little bit off, so that's a little bit nicer, right?
Yeah.
Photography can do that, 3D models can do that, but um, so why avoid something like this tangency where something, these planes all sort of intersect? Because it becomes a center of interest, whether you like it or not. So if that's something you want, go for it. That's the way I've always sort of thought about it. Like again, like sort of learning how these things may function, like will help you, determine where you lay your emphasis, right?
Yeah.
So
Plus,
all right,
in
so what
tattooing, creating a junction like that is just leaving yourself open for horrible mistakes.
you may not, well, I think sometimes it can be like unintended, and then it's like, and then again, as the artist, you may have all sorts of like uh, desire for, or you are really focused on a particular part, right? You're really focused on this part, but the this intersection, this tangency occurs, and you didn't intend it, and then so the
It
most of the
becomes the
viewers
focus
go there.
instead.
Does that make sense? You know what I mean? And it's sometimes
Absolutely.
we're blind to these things, in our own work, but that's what feedback can do for you. Someone else may notice it and say, "Do you want that?" If you say, "Yeah, of course, I really want that." I mean, again, it's the same thing. Like, if you really want your shapes to, like, intersect with each other, because that's important for what you're trying to express, then I say go for it. But if you really want to create, like, let's say you were doing a group of, you know, portraits or so, like a family standing there, and you've got somebody's shoulder sticking into somebody's chest or something like that. Maybe that's
Yeah.
okay. You know what I mean? But I mean, this is just an example. You may want to give them enough space, to where they really are sort of like, they're separated. And then again, we can do that. We can do that through our design, right? The way we design things, and then we can also sort of enhance that or make it much more readable, right? We can make it like, so. I would say that designing it would be would be making it legible, and then like sort of adding the value is what makes it readable. Was like makes it like, now I can see it. I can clearly see these forms exist, and then now I can see their formfulness. I can see their relationship to one another, and that would be through the adding of tonal value. So, um, yeah, I would say, take a screenshot of this, because this would be something I would love to see if anybody gets a chance to work on it. You can do it on paper, right? And you can just set up your own if you want. I mean, I think that'd be totally fine, But what's nice about this example is that everything is, uh, it's simplified, right? So it's abstract, like it's a ball, right? It's a sphere. It's not. It doesn't have the texture. It doesn't have, like, much character. It's like it's abstract. It's sort of the idea of what a ball or sphere would be. Cube. It's a box. It's an ice cube. It's sort of it's the idea of it. this sort of this this like pyramidal cone structure. Again, it's sort of the idea of it, and then we have some value. So it's a really fun way, I think, of approaching like rendering and stuff. So I think this would be something I'd love to see. Again, it may not be your favorite exercise, but if you got into it and started to work
It
off
gives
of
me
it.
anxiety just looking at it.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Does anybody else get? I even started sketching it, and then the anxiety got too great. I was like, no, let me.
Yeah, I'm just thinking
I
about
got
all the
anxiety
light
the
and the
second it,
shadow and
I got anxiety the second it flashed on the screen. I'm like, oh my God, this is freshman art class all over again.
Well,
But I need
so
it, so I'm also
yeah.
excited.
Good. Well, I'd like to offer it as the challenge, as the homework. Of course, if you want to work from, you want to draw anatomy and stuff too, if you find time, go for it. There's no pressure here at all. And and again, I think this exercise, you get out of it what you put into it, if that makes
Yeah,
sense,
I'm
right?
definitely gonna do it. I mean, there's so
Cool.
many different I'm excited to get into it. It's just
Awesome. Awesome.
I could just tell that by looking at it, I feel as though there's this. I don't know. Maybe just the composition of it, maybe the layout. It just strikes my anxiety chord for some reason. It's just that's just kind of an interest. Like if you were going to show like a Van Gogh piece or something, I would probably feel tranquil right now. But
Right. Well, I think so there's a challenge to it, and it's like, all right. So here's a few notes about it that can, that hopefully can be useful. And so let me see if I'm not sure if I can annotate on this or not. Here we go. All right. So for instance, on the side of this cube, right? So we've got planes. We've got what we would call probably the front plane, and then we've got a plane on the side, and then a plane on the top. So if I were to draw a line, hold on. Let's see here. Can I? Come on, give me a. Oh, move this.
Wow.
Try to. Oh, now I can annotate here with this. Yeah, draw. Hopefully this will work. Okay. Draw. No. Oh my God. Oop. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully this will work. Okay. So if I have this point here, if I follow this line and I just draw, if I were to draw a line all the way back as far as I could, and then same one with this one down here, draw a line that follows it and go back, 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 back. Ugh. Except for that little curve. If I draw lines that these two lines are going to appear to
meet up.
Right. That's the whole trick of this particular, the cube, right? The mystery of the cube, right? Like these two edges, they're going to appear to converge. Where they converge is, see if I can't, I don't know, we can sort of roughly, jeez. Come here, you. Maybe like here. Let's say over here. This would be our eye level. Oh my God. This would be our eye level roughly, right? This is like the height of our eye would be, is a horizontal. This is the notion of linear perspective. It's all kind of based on this idea that the height of our eye is eye level, and it's like a horizontal line. Often we kind of refer to it uh, as the horizon line too. Well, okay, so with that being the idea, then we can say like this edge too, it should also correspond and should also meet at that same vanishing point.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's this idea, right? That's that like and then the same thing with this side here, like this edge, this top edge here and this bottom edge here of the cube, right? They're going to appear to converge too, right? So if they appear like, okay, so again, if I draw this edge, going, I follow along with it and it's going like this way, right? And then this one is going down this way, right? Well, those are never going to converge, right? They're diverging away from each other. And so that's not gonna give me that sort of sense of like it's sort of, going back into space ever so slightly. So, like that's something that you may find useful, right? And when you're sort of sketching this out, is you want these two edges to kind of to converge at a certain point. All of the edges, right? So, on this plane, the top and the bottom edge, they're going to converge at a point. Same thing with the top. Same thing with this front side as well. That they're going to appear to converge. You know, I think that's do they actually converge in your drawing? They don't have to, but I think if you kind of if you have that in mind, it can be helpful, right? And again, that's the whole. I think the power of like learning linear perspectives, that you can kind of give it that sense, right? You can really give it that sense that things have perspective, right? You can get caught up in all of the technicalities, and I don't, so and I don't want to do that to you, but I would just say, like, if you if you can keep in mind, eye level, right? And then it'll help you know that you're looking down at something or you're looking up at something. For instance, like the top of this cube, I can see the top of it, which means what? That I'm looking down at it,
Mm.
right? Versus like the edge of this stage that all these things are on. I can't see the top of it, right? I can't see this top edge, so it's above my eye, right? So
Mm.
if I was going to draw, like, if I was going to draw a roof to this, it would be up there, it'd be going that direction, and I'd be looking up, I'd be like looking up um at the ceiling. Does that make sense? Um,
Yup.
and so I think that is like when you're looking at something from life, which I think is hopefully something that I think hopefully all of you want to pick that up. You want to start. We look at photos all the time, and we use them as reference all the time, and they're very valuable. But I think the next, like, the real challenge that you could start to take upon yourself, and everybody's more than ready for it, is to really draw from life. You know what I mean? Is to really draw, like set up, like a box or two, and then really draw it from life, um and then look out your window, and draw the porch. You know what I mean? And then you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that can be so powerful to do. And then, you know, um, and then return to photos, return to life, return to imagination. I think there's all sorts of bases that you can touch on. But let me get rid of some of these terrible lines. I might not be able to come here.
I like to
All
draw
right,
my
there they go.
plants.
What? Yeah, you like to draw the plants?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I have like 25 plants in this bedroom. And sometimes I'll just sit there and sketch a couple leaves off of the wandering Jew or one of the spider plants or something like that.
And I think I think that's wonderful. And I I have I had some friends who love to do that. They love to just draw like as exact as they can, like the all of the planes, and they'll paint every color they see on every leaf and stuff, and it's amazing. I think that's what we're talking about earlier, about like how do we show our love for things, and it's sort of a dedication, right? That
Yeah.
it kind of goes through this ugly phase, and then it just doesn't work, and then all of a sudden it just sort of reaches this sort of you know um, saturation point, and everything, it just sort of comes together, and it crystallizes, and it's beautiful. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there's maybe there's ways that you can just sort of you can follow it along, and it can be sort of highly stylized. And then there might be other ways where you kind of abstract the whole idea, simplify it down. This plant is going to fit inside of this amount of space. Like, say, you've got like a, some sort of plant with all kinds of, leaves that hang down, but it would fit, like, say, in the shape of this sphere, right? And it's sitting on top of a shelf, and you really wanted to capture that for some reason, right? You could start with like starting the block, you design the block, and then you have this sort of basic amount of, like the envelope like we've done before with the figure. Like a figure can fit inside of an envelope. Same thing with like anything, you can think about these as like, envelopes. Something can fit inside of this form, and then it gives you parameters. You can start to put things together, right? I think you can clearly kind of start to see, like, if I look at it, it's like almost like the notion of like a head sitting on shoulders, like this sphere on top of a block. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can get there with it, or like even like a toy, like a child's toy. You know what I mean? Like one of those little figurines or something with the round head. It's like that's what I think what you're practicing is to be able to draw whatever you want. So you draw these simple things, and then what this shows you is the abstracted notion of them. Rather than getting caught up on the surface and the details and stuff, you're going to go back into your memory, and you're going to think, oh, right, it is perspective. The line and the form and the shape are, sort of expressing three-dimensional qualities, right? Right. That's what I want to get at first. I want to block it in this way, that I can put this object here, and I know that's sitting in this space, and then behind it there's something, and then even further behind it, right, there's something. So in a landscape, like here's the river, and then there's the cabin, and then there's the tree line, and then there's the mountains, and that makes a lot of sense. But I think it's kind of producing that order. Again, it's sort of like when you see that, it's sort of like almost like lower down in the composition is closer to us, right? And then further back is higher up. Does that make sense? And it's sort of that's getting back to that whole idea of like an eye level. And then what makes things really, sort of interesting is when you can bring things that sort of transgress that, right? Something is high up, but it's a little bit closer to us, or like, there's something in the foreground, but it's in the upper register of the image. Those can be really, really fascinating, I think, ways of designing things, and also like coming up with compositions. So we haven't even drawn at all. I'm so sorry.
I've
So
been
this
drawing.
is
You want to see what
this
I
is
have?
something. Yeah. Let's check it.
I'm not done, but
I'm gonna stop sharing this so we can see it.
Nice.
See,
Yeah.
you got it. You got it already. And it's just that simple. And I think so. As far as the tonal value goes, the thing that I like to recommend is to squint your eyes. Not squint them so that way things become like blurry, but squint rather so that way what you see is closer to dark, closer to light, right? You're kind of like excluding the middle tones, the things that kind of smooth everything out. So when you're looking at things, and you want to render them, you can squint your eyes down, and then if you can pay attention, you can start to see, that's lighter, and then that's lighter, and then that's darker, right? So you can more clearly see the delineation, because again, you can get lost in the details, right, of all of the middle tones and stuff.
yeah.
But when you go to render things, I think that squinting can help you abstract, and can really come up with the abstract. So I really wanted to show everybody this. I thought this is a really fun, geometry trick so how necessary is it? I don't know, but I think it's interesting, and it can help you divide squares, rectangles into thirds, because dividing things into thirds can be tricky, right? If you get out your ruler and your calculator and you're trying to figure out like, well, how many inches is a third of this thing? That, if it's 3 inches by 3 inches, that's easy. But I wanted to show you this because I think that it can be, if you're sketching, say you're on vacation or something, or you're just, you're out at the park, you've got your sketchbook, and you want to sort of divide everything up into thirds. You do this quick little sketch lightly, and then you can, have you can have thirds. I don't know, it's I think it's interesting, and plus, I always like geometry tricks. So let's see. Let me share this. Come here, you. Hmm. Technical difficulties. Here we go. Okay, cool. Got it. Nice. Okie dokie. So, got my, I've been using this technical pen. Um, it's set the way I like it. It's really sort of similar to like a pen. All right. So again, so a quick drawing exercise that I like to do. It's might not be the most exciting thing, but I like to practice making squares. So, so I'll let me make it a little bit bolder. So I'll draw a vertical line, and then I'll draw a horizontal one. And then I want to try to imagine approximately 45 degrees, roughly, right? And I think the idea being is that, we are really sensitive to particular angles. For one, like this 90-degree angle right here, right? But then also this 45-degree angle as well. Something that's really nice, and I mentioned this, before, but the uh, the idea of the square root is this triangle, right? Why? Because it's half of a square. This times itself, right, is the square. Right. So anyway, so square root is a triangle, and that's, so you see carpenters and stuff, they have that triangle and they call it a square.
Mhm.
That's why that's why they
Yes.
call it a square, because it's the square root of a square is the triangle. I think it's pretty
My dad's a
beautiful.
carpenter, so I grew up
He
with
calls
all
it a
that
square,
stuff.
right?
Yes,
Hmm.
he has many.
Yeah, many squares, right? And it's like, why do you call that triangle a square? Well, because you know, it gives you the perfect square, right? It's a triangle times well, this particular 45 degree by 45 degree triangle gives you, this right triangle particularly gives you a square. So, um, so anyway, so I like to practice that, sort of imagine this 45-degree angle, because I think that can be, um, it's I really do. I think it's valuable. But so here's the trick that I'm gonna try to draw. Get another square going on. Let's just it doesn't even have to be a square. It does work, right? Okay, approximately. This works for squares and rectangles and stuff. My square's all off. Dirt, dirt. Try it again. I find a value in practicing, the horizontal and vertical lines too, just, getting my hand, warmed up. So anyway, It's got a square, right? Okay, so if I take this square, right, and I've already bisected it here along this 45 degrees. I bisect it again. I find a middle. Cool. Well, if I go up here, you know, I go another vertical line, right? And I find the middle here and here. Well, if I go from here to the corner, I draw another section like this. And then I do another one from this way. Well, I've divided my, could be cube, or I mean, it could be square, or it could be rectangle into thirds, right? It's these intersections here. So 1, 2, 3, and then, you know, so let's see how I can make those a little bit bolder, right? So, right? And again, so I've also divided it into thirds this way as well, which is sort of nice, right? So just a quick geometry, like, you know, you can divide any, you know, you can divide anything up into thirds that way, right? So draw a square. I'll do it on this one. You've got your square, right? You find the center again. Boom. Now I've got thirds. And so if you're composing things, you know what I mean? You can follow that rule of thirds, which can be an interesting way to go. Rule of thirds is, you know, is really about composing things so that way that you place your components along these, you know, within these sorts of thirds of the picture. The idea being that you avoid the middle, right? Because the middle, if you put something in the dead center, that can be very static. It can be, it can sort of like, you know, well, I think if we think about like, you know, if you think about mandalas, if you think about like, you know, if you think about other sorts of like almost let's sacred art,
geometry.
it's yeah, it's very contemplative, right? Because again, we were talking about like how tangents, like, you know, they really capture your attention. Well, the center, it's very powerful, right? So if you bring people's attention to the center, you know, really it brings them to the center, right? So if you want to make something that's very, you know, uh, again, it's sort of, it can be contemplative, static. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. You could even play with, you know, with making sort of, you know, something dynamic by sort of bringing something out from the center. You know what I mean? There can be ways that you can mess around with this idea rather than
Use the
saying that it's
Fibonacci spiral.
absolutely, why not? I would love to talk about that one too. You know what I mean? At a you know, like on another one of our meetings, because it's fascinating. It's really fascinating how that works. Not that I understand how it works exactly. I'm just saying
I don't
it's
understand.
fascinating.
I don't
It's
understand
fascinating
how
to
it works.
study it.
I just know that it works. I don't understand how. I
It's
just
magic.
know that it does.
Certainly
Magic is just
transcendental.
science we don't understand yet.
Did I
Yeah,
draw
it's
that
nice.
right? Is that what you were showing?
Let me see.
Mark?
Well, almost.
Oh,
So let's almost. You're very close. So I'll try. Let me try to do it in. Let me try to do it, and I'll try to make it a little clearer, just a little bit. So let's say we've got our square, vertical line, horizontal line. I'm going to draw. Oh, I'm going to use a different color, so that way. So let's say I go attempt 45 degrees. Ugh, that's not 45 degrees. Attempt. Pretty close. So then I can draw the rest of my square. Again, it's sort of like, God, why would you ever practice drawing a square? I can just like, you know what I mean? It's like, why? Well, there's, I think
Oh,
I feel like
apparently
there's
things are
value
made
to
out of
it.
squares. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So now I've got a square. Now I've got a center point. So, um, I'll draw another sort of vertical line. I'll just dash it roughly, right? Right. So let's grab some blue. Now, if I go from this point to the corner within the square itself, right? I'll do it from this way. You can do this from lots of different ways, but this way, it gives us the answer to the equation, if you like. So it's the intersection here and there. If you did this very, very precisely with tools and stuff, it's precise. It may be more precise than you could like measure it. You know what I mean? Like mine's a little off. I can certainly tell that. But this is the gist of it. Oh my God. Yeah. Now I've got one, two, three. And then of course, I can sort of use this again up and then here,
Hmm.
right? And now I've got nine. I've got nine squares, right? So it's I think it can be like this is just one of so many different I mean, so think about it, right? So if you kept on going, right, you could keep on dividing it. You could keep on dividing the square, like infinitely. There's an infinite amount of divisions that you could make, geometrically speaking. And so and then again, we were talking about the golden section. This would be the golden section, I believe. I think if we take an arced it down, right, from, let's say, it's this edge here from the center of the square to this corner. If we arced it down, this is that's a golden rectangle. That's the
So,
ratio. Yeah, go ahead.
I had a class once it was a seminar called the Tattoo Explorer Conference, and we had
Okay.
one of the artists. He was one of the artists from The Walking Dead, and I just want to make sure this is the same thing because it's starting to look like it. Where he said that it's like this. Can you see this?
Yeah, so
Yes.
that is like a dynamic symmetry. This is something
Dynamic
that I
symmetry, yeah.
yeah, this is something that I certainly, I'm interested in. I study it. Um, and I believe what you just showed might very well have been uh, so I think that might very well have been like three golden rectangles sort of placed together. Yeah, I think so. Well, it's okay. So it's a golden rectangle. You can see it looks like a square, and then and then there's that little extra section. I believe that's what I'm looking at. Um, but yeah, you can see that, like, all of these lines of visual force, right? All those diagonals, they're very powerful, and they underlie our compositions. We don't see them, but we perceive them, right? And so we talk about composition sort of leading the eye around, and that's so in a way, that's a part of it, right?
So is it
The
kind of like
particular angle.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, no.
I just want to make sure on it because when we had that class, I kind of understood it, but it was like where the lines intersect are like important places in the piece where you can place things. And it's almost like your eye will naturally go to where that is. And you can use that as a part of your composition. Am I correct? Even like the diagonals.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, it's like it's very theoretical. I mean, like there's a it's demonstrable, or you can you can show these lines doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you know, is it true? I think that there's something to it. There's something to it. We're physical, right? And like in our, what we're constituted by, by whatever takes up space, so maybe on an atomic level, maybe we're full of holes. We think we're so solid, but we're actually full of space. But you know we relate to these images in some way, and so having that notion, right? It's a very old one. It's years
Mm-hmm.
in the years in the making, centuries in the making, maybe millennia in the making of, and that's, Amber said it, sacred geometry, like this geometry that is so uh, that has been held as sacred for so long. We're always using it when we're making drawings and stuff, right? Because a lot of times we draw on something that's a quadrangle, four-sided thing. Any piece of paper is that way at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But
Could you help me understand how? And I guess I can already see it with the horizontal and vertical rectangles, but without those, I don't see how things are broken up into thirds. Do you need those horizontal and vertical rectangles? So I just don't
uh
understand how this corresponds to the thirds.
oh, what I demonstrated.
Yeah, it's hard for me to make that connection.
Yeah, so let me see. um it's the intersections. So that's
Mm-hmm.
breaking up this square into thirds, like, so by dividing it, because I did them at particular points, right? So it's from this corner, a second, so square, roughly, right? So I find the center and center, right? Um, Here, there. It's where those intersections are. You know what I mean? That gives me, that breaks it. That's really off. Sorry, but it's where those intersections are that give me this division into the thirds, right? Forgive
Okay,
the
I got you.
crudity of it, but again, so there's the idea, and then if I were to go, yeah, please forgive the crudity, but again, so if I were to go and say, yeah, it goes through like that, and then
Okay,
oh, there, it's like, I go through there, to there, and then there. So it's these intersections that
that
break
makes
up
sense.
this thing into, so that step by step, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? It's like, take it back, da, 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 da. We can break it down, and that's where everything would lie. And so,
Gotcha.
yeah. So if we were going to, sort of, take a rectangle, we could theoretically do the same thing, and it would make up rectangles that are this proportion, right? This, whatever this height and width, proportionally speaking. So if I break it down, find the center, and the center, then this would give me, well, roughly, right? Like, oh yeah, that's it, right? Derp. Get lost. this intersection and that intersection there. So again, very crude and very rough, but at the same time, it's like this little geometry trick. Um, it can be, I think it can be really useful to practice it if you were to, like take the time to set aside, you know, get a triangle, a square, get a ruler, make a square, and then divide it up. Practice dividing it, and then I think this is a really nice sort of it's a nice place to leave it. But I'm glad you brought up your experience with with the golden rectangle, because there really is it really is a fascinating um, it really is a fascinating concept, and I have so much material to share about it. It is something that, like, it's befuddling, to say the least. Like, it's very
Mm.
can be very confusing. But again, like the more that we sort of think about our compositions, that's where we can apply all the practices that we've been working on so much. We want to learn to draw the figure because we want to, like, understand you know how things can work, right? There's a sort of a um, there's a sort of like mechanical quality to the body, that's also organic, and so there's a and we are bodies, so we're attracted to them, right? We're just attracted to it. There's also this magic about, like, trying to create space and depth in our pictures. To some degree, I feel like, that visual art does that. The visual art is, there's always there's something about space in it.
Yeah.
That's what our vision depicts for us. That's what our mind is trying to stitch together, the stimuli of our vision, and create space. Create a sense of, I am here in relation to whatever's, the space that's in front of me. So I mean, even very abstract art in this way, it's still like there's still this spatial relationship, you know what I mean, that happens. Um, Narrative would be generated in the viewer's mind. You know what I mean? If they want to come up with a story, you see anything, even if it's illustrative, there's still, like, space is sort of primary, or is the thing that the visual is about, and then the viewer is going to, like, generate the narrative. Whereas, like, if we read a story, right, if we read a narrative, then what happens? We're probably coming up with images in our mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, the language, is one thing, and then its relationship to space is another. Language is like time, right? So image is space, and then language is time. It's almost like if I start a sentence and I start saying this sentence, it's only at the end of the sentence that you can go back and say, oh, that sentence was about sentences.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
But I think that you know practicing, like, drawing from life, drawing from imagination, drawing from references is is so valuable. you know so don't get stuck on just one thing. Try to find a balance where you're going about doing all. But of course, like Salvador Dali says, your work is your work, right? And that should be the thing that you become an expert at, right? And so make time for the experimentation, right? But then your work is your work. um, this has been so much fun. I really
Yeah, I
enjoyed
agree.
I really
Yeah,
enjoyed getting
definitely.
a chance to break away from the figure for a little bit, and talk about some of these more heady concepts today. Um, and I definitely would love to continue to do it. Um, if you if anybody feels anxious or overwhelmed by stuff we went over, don't feel that way. I think this is a journey. It's again, this process that we're going through where we're learning about the things that are, we're learning about history, we're learning about art, we're learning about, who we are, I think, as artists and people as well. Um, so I hope you had fun. And again, I enjoyed everybody's, contributions. And I loved seeing everybody's artwork for last week. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I really can't wait to do it again next time. So hopefully, if you get a chance, try to draw that still life. Try to keep rendering it out if you get a chance to do it. Try, if you want to challenge yourself, if it feels like too easy, maybe try in a different medium, watercolor or paint or something like that, or digital. Try something that's gonna be really it's gonna it's gonna be interesting to you, right? But again, try to think about tonal value, right? You get the forms in there, they look good, great. And then think about the tone. What's darkest? What's lightest? Then try to fill in that gap, right? Try to establish the dark, the light, and then the middle tones will take care of themselves, right?
I know I'm
So,
constantly telling myself my darkest my darkest light needs to be lighter than my lightest dark. My darkest light needs to be lighter than my lightest dark. It just runs in my head over and over and over again.
well, it's good. It's really good advice. And that's it's a subtlety, but I think once if you can get that hierarchy of like, dark to light, you're you are, like you're creating that sense of space. There's a light source that's coming from somewhere. You don't know where, but
Hmm.
it's illuminating stuff. And so again, it's like it's the story you're trying to tell, but it's articulated through this relation to the space, right? For the viewer, right? You're telling the story about light, but it's the thing you can't, you know, the picture shows it rather than
Yeah.
the sentence telling it. And so that's the challenge. It's that's the sort of the beauty of it. And yeah, I mean, I think to recapitulate what our theme today was like, it's about how do we love something, and it really is like we elevate something through our drawing, through the artwork that we make. And so I certainly felt that with your all's artwork this week. So um all right, any other points or questions anybody have? Feeling good?
I don't have
Yo.
any questions, or do I? Oh yeah, I guess probably what I'm probably gonna do for a little bit of homework is I'm gonna take some uh, like famous paintings. I'm gonna apply the square idea, the thirds idea, to see if I can see what we're talking about here in full display.
Sure. Here's one way that you can. So we don't, a lot of times we use our phones as our camera. But if you
Mhm.
look through a viewfinder of a camera, it's divided into thirds like that, right? And that's this. The reason is because it can become like a compositional tool. So,
Hmm.
for instance, you could put the horizon or eye level at like on on one of the thirds, right? On one of those thirds. You could put like an interesting point on one of those intersections. That can be a very effective way to sort of break up your, or to compose your image. So it has this sort of dynamic quality.
Hmm.
But again, I think also what, like going through, some, old paintings and stuff, and, finding the angles, go from corner to corner, go from the center to the center, like, so the division of thirds, I think is just the start. It's just one simple start. And you may find some correspondence there, but next week I'd love to show uh, sort of the dynamics of the rectangle itself, it is a bit confusing, but I think that's kind of what you're talking about too. Like you find all these intersections, geometrically speaking, and then in really famous old work, especially, you find there's all these little points that are very important, and they're at these intersections, right? Um, so yeah, you can find it. You know what I mean? If you look at it, why? Because compositionally, the old masters were looking for that stuff. They did put it there on purpose. But I think today we can still play around with that stuff. I really think we can, and it might very well be something it could be very interesting for you, and it could be very fruitful. You know what I mean? As like as an approach. So yeah, I think that'd be great. I'll definitely love to see it, and I will show some more stuff that I think you'll really find intriguing. So more on that next time. You got to join us next week if you want to hear more about about this exciting
That
topic.
time, same back channel.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely. Well, good. So work on, you can work from the book from Constructive Anatomy, the Bridgman book. You could try the still life that we showed earlier, or like make up your own still life. Again, just like the Bridgman book abstracts the figure for us, it gives us this sort of, it breaks it down into some simple planes and simple relationships. That's what those platonic solids are about too, sort of abstracting, the world, organic shapes. And then, I guess, in our reality, we have all kinds of constructed shapes, cubes and prisms and, spherical objects and footballs and baseballs and stuff, baseball bat. We can, if you look for it, you can see that form, and if you learn how to render it, then that can be a powerful set of understanding that can help you achieve your desired ends. Right? These are means, right? We're working on the means to an end. The ends are your own, the ones that you want to use these means for. How do you compose things? How do you render them? It will. I don't want to prescribe that for you, but I will say that like it can be there for you when you need it if you practice it. So um, so yeah, I think I think this is a good place to wrap it up. So let's do some quick sign offs, and then we'll adjourn for the day. Wow, 2 hours. That's awesome. Thank you all so much for for your um, just being active and like being involved in it. All right, let's start off with you, Harriet. Tell us who you are, where we can find you.
I'm Harriet Wisdom, and you are stretching my mind with this, dear.
Oh, cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot to
Awesome.
think about. Yeah, lot to work on. I didn't think when I got to be 70, I would be doing this kind of thing, but I'm loving it.
Oh, that's great.
So much.
Thank you so much. Cool. Amber.
I'm Amber Morgaine, and I can't wait till next week. I can't wait till next
Awesome.
week and to learn a little more and to add a little more to my toolbox. This is a great topic. I love it. You can find me on all the social media platforms under Amber Morgaine.
Thank you, Amber. Spirit.
Thank you.
And I couldn't agree more with Amber. A little piece of art history. Vincent van Gogh and Paul Gauguin met and formed a very, very meaningful relationship to each other. For most of his life, Van Gogh was very, very lonely, and he really, really longed to be friends with other artists. And when he met Paul Gauguin, his artwork really, really flourished. That's partially where he got those sunflowers from, because Paul Gauguin was going to go visit him. He wanted to like paint these beautiful sunflowers to put in his room. just to to impress him. And as a result, like I said, their friendship really, they were really allowed to kind of grow a lot as a result of being friends. But that being said, that's why I enjoy these meetings every Monday, and it's definitely pushing my artwork to new heights. And so you guys can find me at tattoosbyspirit.com is my website. My Instagram is Tattoos by Spirit. You can find me on TikTok as well as Tattoos by Spirit.
Wow. Thank you so much. And for that wonderful story too. And so, yeah, I definitely want to say, just one more time, thank you to everybody for, for sharing your art and for, continuing to make, to make artwork that you're interested in. And Spirit, your drawings from this week were it's really incredible. So, I'm really impressed. I'm just super impressed. It's um, it really it drives me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I say that I'm impressed, but I'm jealous that I didn't match your level this week. You're awesome. That was so
Thanks,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm so now I'm really sharpening my knives. I'm
There we
coming for
go.
you.
All
So
right,
no,
I'm
it's
ready.
amazing, right? Oh yeah. No, I think that's that spirit of friendship. That's the spirit of being being comrades. Is that we're all going through the things we're going through, but the fact that we make this time to sort of dedicate like to ourselves and each other is very powerful and meaningful. So all right, so I'm James Wisdom. You can find me at Tattooing Wisdom, tattooingwisdom.com, Tattooing Wisdom on Instagram. Thank you for joining us all on another episode of Drawing for Tattooers. Happy drawing, everybody, and we'll see you next